Yo, so I just want to point out this is therapy for us all. Like week in, week out. We look forward to it. Listen,
Fella,
it's
it's
just
gonna be one of them nights.
it's going to be, I'm telling you. Yeah, man, we back another Tuesday night at 9, man. Prototype Dad in the building. Man, round of applause. But I know we're on like a bi-weekly schedule at the moment, you know what I'm saying? But it's good to be back, talking to the guys, talking to the cast, man. We got an interesting topic tonight. We're going to be digging into the forever teen, those people that refuse to grow up. And then we're going to dive into a little bit of arranged marriages and what that might look like in today's time. So, man, we got some good guests on. We got the regular cast, but I want to welcome Jamie. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Y'all gotta be nice because I'm the only female on there. So
negative. It's not gonna happen. But you're fine. You're safe. You would pick us over the bear, so it's cool. You know what I'm saying? And HD.
What up with it, though?
Appreciate man, just chilling. Thank you for freeing up some time, man. I know I asked you to come on late notice, but man, let's have a good time. My head's been wrapped up in T-ball for the past 2 months. So I don't know what's going on in the world at all. Like absolutely nothing. All I know is T-ball and football coming up. I don't know anything else. So do anybody have anything on what's going on with current events in today's world, man?
Hey, I do, man. One thing that came across my desk today that China found a cure for diabetes. So,
okay,
I'm very curious.
Isn't it to stop eating so much?
This guy, no,
like what?
What? Hey, Mo. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Like what?
No, it's not.
Oh, I found a cure. Stop being a fat ass. Like what?
Y'all see what I have to deal with. So, that's not science. Like,
so you thinking something else? Diabetes comes from
something? So I mean, so by definition, what it is, it's that your body is resistant to insulin. So that's why you actually have to, so it's not, you can't just starve yourself and be like, oh, I'm cured. So no, there's some science behind it.
Oh, okay. So they found a cure to type 1 diabetes. Type 2 is just switch your diet up.
No, well, right. No, it's so you can build up. I'm not completely ignorant about the situation, but you can build up insulin resistance. You know what I'm saying? With bad eating habits. So over time, your body begins to build up that insulin resistance, and now you have diabetes. You know what I'm saying? So it is a method of start putting vegetables, get your fiber in, change your diet. You know what I'm saying? Dr. Sabi, the whole situation, if y'all understand what I mean. But you can get rid of diabetes without a cure. So that it kind of just threw me off when you was like, yeah, China. I wouldn't think they dealt with it that much anyway. I mean, and I know there are some thin people with diabetes, but then just because you're thin don't mean you're healthy either.
They eat a lot of rice though, man. Carbs,
facts,
sugar, diabetes.
I know a lot of fat vegans.
Bruh, that's like saying fat homeless people.
Look, I'm just saying, can't judge a book by its cover.
That's
some fat homeless people.
Read a book is based on the cover.
I think I've seen fat homeless people, right? Maybe. Am I tripping?
I would think most homeless people are fat because they ain't eating healthy. They eating dollar burgers. Somebody give you a 10, you ain't finna spend it on a salad. You're gonna go get 10 burgers.
Boy, we going on a rabbit hole of prejudice today, boy. Golly.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Anybody else? But Leaper, what you got? Nothing. You in the dark?
Yeah, I mean, I keep my head in the ground, but only thing that would come up to me is Donald Trump getting indicted, but still being able to run for president. That's
Wow,
crazy to
dude.
me. But
That
No,
is
not
crazy.
indicted. He was found guilty.
He was found guilty.
found
yeah.
guilty. Found
No,
guilty.
I mean,
You're right,
okay,
yeah,
I am
found
ignorant
guilty.
about that. What's the difference between being indicted and being found guilty?
One is
The beginning and the
Being
end.
indicted, you brought charges
The
on him.
alpha,
They
the
had
alpha
a
and the
jury found
omega.
him guilty.
So the 30 wasn't like 34 charges or something like that. And he he was found guilty on 34 charges and no jail time.
With some
No
being
nothing.
felony, and some well, he hasn't been sentenced yet. But with some of them being felonies, I'm going back to history class here, but I'm pretty sure you can't be president with felonies. I believe.
not true. You can be president with felonies because you got to think about it. If people like it's conspiracies, right? If they don't want you to be in the office, then they can collude to make it to where they find things to come against you. So that's what it happened one time. I think I want to say in the 1800s that it happened, where a president was in jail and was still a person was in jail and still ran for president. So it's one of those type of things that they don't want, that you can still run for president and win, because they're trying to come against the fact that people are still against you.
Gotcha.
But even though you're a felony, you can't vote though.
And that's what I was going to, like, I knew you couldn't vote.
can't
So
vote,
you can't vote, but you can be
run.
president.
You can
That's
run.
interesting.
Yeah.
That is very interesting.
Hey, this country is a big experiment.
Yeah, for sure. Albums of the week. My head has been wrapped in, shout out to Smooth, Don Trip, yo.
Man, dog, this one
Yo.
right here,
He's going
Hey.
nuts.
I love this one, man. He can be consistent for what, 16, 17 months now?
He's going crazy. He's
But
going
this
absolutely
one right here, I
berserk.
love this one. Say it
I
again?
think he's going to run out of steam at some point, and he's just going to fall off. I think he's going to big critters.
It's possible. But if he do, we got enough work to, listen to for a while.
Appreciate it. What you got, Mo? What you been on?
Man, I really haven't, man. I've been on my knowledge, man. Man, I haven't really turned on my TV outside of basketball, man. And I've been kind of researching and, kind of pouring my energy into my daughter as far as school and education and SATs. So I haven't really got much into the music space. So, man, y'all put so.
I mean, spit all the books. Those books are music,
Man, look, okay, so
we can't see behind you.
that's true, but I'm gonna be able to give you something. So I'm actually rereading Black Labor, White Wealth. That's a good one. Just by title, like it's deep. And I'm actually reading a book by Professor Griff called Analytics. So
I heard of that.
yeah, so that's a good one too.
Hey, dear Jamie, what you got on music? What are you listening to, or what are you reading right now?
I'm not listening to anything, but I am reading per Humble Dad's recommendation, The Bait of Satan.
Okay.
I didn't catch that. What was it called? The Bed of Satan?
No, The Bait of Satan.
Okay.
Bait of Satan.
Yeah.
Who's the author of that?
It's actually really good. Oh my God, hold on.
I
John
want to say John
Humble
Bevere.
Dad.
John Bevere.
There you go.
Okay, I'll have to look into it.
It's actually good. It's really good.
What you got, HD?
Yeah, I'm reading.
What you feeding your soul with?
Yeah, I would say music wise, there's a guy named Caleb Gordon. He's a pretty dope dude. He's from Florida. And then as far as what I'm reading me and my homie and our wives, we're reading through the Bible. So we on day 156, reading it chronologically. So that's been really interesting to do and find some things that I was unaware of. So that's pretty dope.
Leifer, what you feeding yourself with?
Actually, I'm not even reading anything new right now. I've been doing a lot of professional development stuff. for work. So I've like been engulfed in all of these stacks of they got like different charts and different things that I have to read, and I have to identify different traits about myself because we have professional coach coming this Thursday actually to the office and put us through this whole thing. So I've been like for the past month, I've been like reading a lot of this material and just trying to identify, weaknesses and strengths and things like that, so we can kind of build upon those things. So I haven't even been reading anything outside of those things. And as far as music, man, I stay old school. I don't listen to nothing new. Everything is probably 2000 or earlier.
Just like HD, man. I got my oldest son back for the summer, and we've been diving into Proverbs, and I'm gonna do Proverbs. I'm gonna do Job right after that. I'm gonna go through my favorite books with him, and just have some fun with that, man, and get him reading and understanding the word, because we don't really go to church much. So I feel like I've been dropping the ball. Like, dang, they need to learn it somewhere. But he's 15, so now I'm at the point where, all right, he can understand the more complex messages. You know what I'm saying? Other than the little ones where it's all about who is Jesus. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, man, let's get into the topic a little bit though, man, because there's a few things that we complain about a lot as people or whatever, right? And typically, I mean, this show's generally about the dating market, but let's talk about people who never grow up and people get stuck with. And it's like these forever teens. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hear women complaining about, all my guy does is play the video game all day. And then I hear a lot of dudes saying, like, my girl acts like a kid. I don't understand. She's selfish, or she, like, why are girls just talking about just pay my bills? Like they just want to be teenagers, or they want the princess treatment. You know what I mean? So hold on, I gotta do something real quick. You know what I'm saying? So for tonight, man, first question. How do you recognize somebody stuck in teen mode? And like HD said, it's at your own discretion what you think teen mode might be.
I hate you. And this crazy thing is I was orchestrating a whole monologue based on the fact that I wasn't going first for like the first time in like a century. And now, you just ruined that whole monologue I was creating in my mind. So what was the question again? Because I didn't got all off. I forgot, because I was like, yeah, I ain't going first. Let me think of this. Oh man, ruined me.
How do y'all recognize somebody stuck in teen mode or in an immature state? What you got?
That's a good question. So, man, because there's this whole ideology, especially when it comes to women, about being taken care of and not, only having to do what they want to do. And so it's, for me, it's difficult to be able to say, is that being teen mode and never wanting to get out of it, or is that wanting to be valued as as a particular type of way? Like, is that a preference for you? But I think being able to see how people react, their emotional intelligence in certain situations, seeing how they handle conflict, or just a basic I don't want to say confrontational, but a basic conversation where it's not a positive thing, where you have to address some things to kind of hold people accountable. And you can see, kind of right away how they start reacting, or they start deflecting comments onto you and trying to push things away. So the light isn't shined on them, and they push stuff on you. And I think that is, I think right now, more people are, at least it seems like it anyway, more people are going through therapy, and they're learning all of these phrases and these things like triggers, and they're learning all these different phraseologies that are kind of, some people are manipulating it, you know, a lot of people are manipulating it. Like they learn stuff in their therapy sessions, and you know, and instead of being accountable themselves, they're trying to hold you accountable. So she kind of flip things over using all these different things, these buzzwords that they learn from the therapist. So I think, you know, just keep your eye on that and keep your ear open to that type of conversation. Like, hold up. Nah, let me stop you right there. You know, that we're trying to address my feelings right now, or what's going on with me right now. This isn't a time for you to try to flip the script and turn it on me. So I think, you know what I mean? Just being cognizant of that and listen to what people are saying. I think that's a way to be able to tell, you know, those people who are trying to be teenagers and trying to just to dwell in this space where they don't have to be accountable for anything.
So here's what I'll do with you, right? It's like if we're running a relay race and we're short one man, the first person got to go last again. So you get an opportunity to answer or rebuttal after everybody has spoken. So I'll give you that. Smooth, what you got? How could you recognize somebody in team mode?
Man, hey, it's crazy, man. I'm going through this right now, man. I think conversations to me, they seem like deja vu. And in my mid 40s, man, I should be having conversations with you that we had when we was teenagers. You know what I'm saying? Like I got a homie now. Just the friendship, man, it just ain't there no more. We've grown apart. But I see, man, like I got responsibilities. I got a wife, I got kids, I got, you know, elder family members to take care of. He has none of that. You know what I'm saying? And it just, the conversation that it brought to me is something that I would have with my kids when I'm just joking with them. But in his mind, he dead serious about things we should be doing. And like, man, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like this cat still want us to get together and form a rap group and drop an album. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, dog, it's a lot of stuff, man, I can't deal with, man. And I love him. I love him to death, man. I promise I do, man. But I know now as a man, I got to love him from a distance. You know what I'm saying?
Mo, what you got? How do you recognize somebody that's in team mode?
So for me, man, that's some of the self-work I've been trying to do with myself recently is to not judge. I try to meet people where they are. And for whatever reason, I just happen to be in close proximity to a lot of teens who happen to be graduating this year. And in my opinion, I've had more meaningful and fruitful conversations with those teens than I have with some adults. So I think we're maybe doing a disservice by saying teen is immature or whatever. So let's start there. But one of the things that I can identify is, and I won't say necessarily teen mode or whatever, but just, you know,
what would you relabel it?
Yeah, I would just relabel it as, you know, not on the same energy or the same wavelength as I am. That's just we're just not meeting each other. We're just not at the same level. We're just not at the same level.
As soon as you say energy or what's the other word you said? Wave.
What's that?
Vibe, wave, energy. As soon as you start using those words, those are toxic symbols, man. Like
toxic.
Your ears, antennas go up when you start bringing those words up, like energy. Wavelength.
You don't believe
I'm not saying that's your intent. I'm not saying that's your intent. I'm just saying antennas go up when you use that verbiage.
Okay.
But I mean, you know, you're a little older now, so you know, you might not be as connected with whatever is being said out in the wavelengths. But when you use that, you know what I'm saying, like, ooh, my vibe, or just the energy, or you know what I'm saying, you're like, oh, you weird, like. So I'm just letting you know. I'm not saying you're that guy.
Look,
I'm just letting you know the verbiage just now. You might want to.
And here's something that you know about me. That ain't gonna change what I got to say. I'm gonna say what I had to say regardless. So if you're done, I'll go ahead and finish. So what I look for is somebody that's on the same wavelength as me, and if our energies don't mesh, I just decide, okay, like, so for example, I've been going to a lot of different cookouts with people that I haven't met before. So it's a lot of new conversations, new meetings, and such and such. So as I'm meeting these people and I'm having those conversations, I can tell very quickly if it's somebody that I can vibe with and somebody that we have something in common and we can actually find some commonalities. For the most part, I can generally, like, I can go as low or as high as you want for the most part, but there's some conversations I'm just not willing to have at this point in my life. But when somebody doesn't have, like, so for example, I'll give an example. I had a dude who was, I don't even know what he was. He was foreign, and so the first thing he came to me with was, "What do you do?" I told him what I did. So I work in HR. I work for a utility company, and the first thing he said was, "Your utility company is terrible." And I was like, "Okay, I'm in HR. There's nothing I can do about that. So let's get away from that." And okay, I'm Mo better. How can we connect on that? You bashing who pays my check doesn't really make me want to converse with you anymore. And then as he was telling me the problem, I was like, well, actually, that's not a utility issue. That's probably a house electrical issue. And instead of taking accountability for that and saying, well, I should go ahead and get that checked out, he's like, well, I got plenty of money. I was like, hey man, enjoy your rib. I'm gonna go this way. So I saw that, and I don't want, like I said, I wouldn't label it as necessarily being in teen mode or immature. I just labeled it as we just didn't connect
I would
well.
say shallow. The minute somebody mentioned like, oh, I got money, or you shallow. That's how I would take. If I was you and I heard that, I would, okay, yeah, you enjoy your rib. Yeah, I would say the same thing. But you surf.
Yeah, and I just exited stage left. But like I said, man, I've really trying to get to a point to where I'm not so judgmental, and I'm not like, oh, if you're not here, it's not worth talking to you. Like, because I believe that you can learn something from anybody, even if it's what not to do. So I've been really working on myself from that standpoint, and minding my own business. Like, I don't interject and give advice when it's not asked for. Like, I'll just be like, oh, okay, good luck. And then if they come back to me and, then and they ask what, I'll provide it. But that's the self-work I've been working on myself. And that's how I identify the lack of accountability. And it makes me want to exit stage left because we don't mesh.
What you got, HD?
Yeah, man. I think everybody has said something really good. I would add to it as individuals that are not willing to have the conversation and be able to listen to both sides of an argument. Immaturity is the word. Because there's a certain level of thought pattern and thought process that an individual should have when dialoguing with someone else. So, for example, even if I may disagree with Mo Better about a particular topic, we can have the dialogue respectfully, right? And we can respectfully disagree. And then at the same time, we can probably, like he said, you can learn from anybody, even if it's what not to do, right? Case in point, I had a conversation with a person that I was working with, and I was trying to talk to them about Trump, right? And so because I was talking to them about Trump from a particular standpoint that they didn't know about, it all of a sudden I became a Trump lover, as opposed to being able to tell them, I know something that you don't. So let me provide you some information, what you don't know, because of what it is that you listen to. I know that you're only going based on what somebody told you, not based on something you researched yourself. So the example was specifically about Kamala Harris. She had signed a bill called it was a Born Alive bill. I don't know if y'all know about that, but it was called the Born Alive bill. And if a woman wanted to terminate her pregnancy early, terminate her pregnancy, and the baby was born alive, then that baby would still be terminated. Okay. Well, all the Democrats that were up to vote for it voted against that bill to say that that the baby should still be terminated. And I said, do you think that's a bad thing? Republicans said, the lady said, well, women go through all XYZ. What if she was, what if she was SA? And I said, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm trying to tell you that all Democrats literally said it doesn't matter if the baby was born alive. they still are willing to terminate the baby, right? So I'm having the conversation, but they're not willing to listen because all they could hear was me talking bad about Kamala Harris, as opposed to taking some new information in and processing it. And then they would develop a new boundary, if you will, of what it is that they accept. So I would say people that are not able to have different ideologies and being able to accept what that person says. Even though I'm a Christian, I'm not going to not listen to a person that's a Muslim. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to not listen to an atheist because I believe in having good dialogue and understanding people's perspective, so that if I, as a believer, trying to reach them, I can be able to talk to them from their perspective, or at least understand where they are. So that's the main thing that I would say.
So HD and Vic, that was one of the things that I was curious about when it came to kind of that diversity of thought when it came to religion. I was wondering if y'all had that. So that's interesting. That's an interesting perspective that you're still at least willing to have that conversation and be open to new inputs. So, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm an educator, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So by trade, basically, I've been in education for over 20 years. So what I look like not being able to listen to somebody else's perspective as well.
No,
Yeah,
I'm always open to have a conversation, or to learn, or just to get the perspective, man, just to see like, oh, this is where you stand and why it's better or worse than where I stand.
Yeah, that's the story of my life, man. I'm willing to listen to anything, as long as it makes sense. And then once logic leaves the conversation, so do I. So
I mean, me and Vic have we've had conversations on the show where we didn't necessarily agree, you know what I'm saying, on some topics, but we were able to listen to one another and hear each other's perspective. And so that's what it's supposed to be anyway. You can't make nobody change.
Facts. No, that's dope.
People don't do it anyway. What you got, Jamie?
You guys really covered everything, but I was trying to cheat. So I actually Googled what the word teen meant, right? And so the first definition said a teenage person, but the second said misery and affliction. Did y'all know that it meant that?
I did not.
But that hasn't always
like
been a
being
teenage
miserable
section though in America. It was created. It hasn't always been.
Do tell. I don't know that part. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to take up much of our time. Just saying that, during the time period of like 12, 13 is when a boy became a man and a girl became a woman. So they were doing labor. There was not a time of adolescency, right? Which is what it is now. And it has created a lot of what you see now, is that given that moment, because it was, when you can have fun between 13, I guess, and 18, and then when you're 21, you need to be moving on to your next level of life. Well, now it has extended, right, to like your whole all your 20s. So it has not always been what it is that we see now.
That's why them old NBA players used to all be bald.
So that makes sense. And so but I would say that definition kind of like describes people's state of mind right now, because they aren't able to have conversation. They aren't able to process. They are in a state of misery and affliction. And so due to their lack of understanding or developing those concepts, you know what I'm saying? They're a forever teen, because it's easier to disassociate or stay in a state than to grow. And so this transitional period, it says adolescence or teenage years, is 13 to 19. And it's supposed to be the years that you learn from your mistakes, and then you apply them to what they want to call real life. Because, when you hit 18, it's real life. And so if they never learn from their mistakes between those ages, they're going to be stuck in that state. I used to tell kids this. I said, if you don't get checked in high school, you're going to act that way on your job, but you're going to lose your job and your financial backing. Here, you're worried about grades, right? And attendance. But when you get out in the real world, if you act like that, you're going to mess up your money. So if somebody doesn't check you now, you're going to act like that on your job. And that's unacceptable. And That's why we had trash customer service. And so that's my answer.
You know, all the short bus people are in the customer services sector, but
You're
that's
killing
just
me, bro.
I'm
Yo,
just joking. I mean,
no,
I'm joking
no,
because I'm a part of the
no.
short bus crew.
Exactly.
So I don't really care. So I feel like I could joke on my own family. You know what I'm saying? Like I can say whatever I want about short bus people, but I hate when other people make comments about short bus people.
Those views do not reflect anything by Mo Better. Like, nope. I gotta go into these schools and no.
So what kind of relationship should we have? Leaper, I mean, you could double back, but what kind of relationship should we have with people that, you know, we see in teen mode once we recognize it, right? So
Are you asking me that question, or am I doubling back? What we doing?
you could do both. You could double back if
Okay,
you got more to say, and
cool.
then move forward.
So I wanted to speak on it's me, Jamie's comment, because one of the things that that I've been learning in therapy is that, you know, a lot of people like stop growing where they were where initial trauma happened. So if the initial trauma happened at 13, 14, 15, 12, whenever it was, that's when their emotional development kind of stopped, and they never learn how to get over that hump. So even as adults, they still, struggle with that type of thing, whether it's deflecting or whether it's avoiding confrontation or whatever it may be, whether it's lashing out because, you having tantrums, whatever it may be. So that is due to a lot of unresolved, trauma and issues that they had growing up that they just never addressed. And that's one of the reasons why we deal with a lot of these, like you said, so-called teenage attributes in adults. It's because it's just, people just haven't dealt with their trauma. But I think one thing is that as we continue to grow, you know what I mean, you continue to figure out these things. So I'm figuring out a lot of this stuff myself, right now on the fly. And then I'm like, okay, I'm assigning, you know what I mean? Like I'm assigning names and things to it, to where I'm like, okay, now I get that. Okay, now I get this. Okay, now I get why I acted this way or why this person acted this way. And then I could kind of try to course correct or correct my behavior, or at least say something to somebody else who is, doing something to me that I don't really agree with. And I'm like, oh, well, you know what I mean? Why don't you think about this? So I think that's something that that I definitely think is a major part of people who just aren't able to have the conversations like Humble Dad said, because me and you, we haven't really agreed for going on 30 years. So, we still have those conversations, you know what I mean? And you know what I mean? We're still able to have a dialogue, even though we disagree. We're on different ends of the spectrum most times, but we can agree to disagree and be like, okay, well, I see your perspective. You're wrong, but I see your perspective, and then we keep it moving. You know what I mean? So I think, that's something that a lot of people don't have. Like I had a whole, community organization with people who, if you thought anything different than they thought, then you were automatically the enemy. And it was like, I just have a differing viewpoint based on my experiences, and you don't have the same experiences as I do. So you can't tell me how to feel about the things that I went through, no more than I could tell you how you should feel about the things that you went through in your life. But, there's certain people who just, they're stuck, and they're fixated, and they got tunnel vision on to specifically what's going on with them. And they can't really empathize with anybody else's situation enough to have a conversation or create a dialogue in order to get to the other side.
Can I ask?
I know there was a second part of this, but I can't remember.
So not telling people how to feel. I don't know if anybody else has dealt with this, but I have, where somebody said something to me or did something to me, and I wasn't sure how to feel about it. Right? I'm confused about what just happened. And I probably needed somebody to kind of decipher, no, this person did X, Y, Z. You should definitely be offended. and have me understand that maybe right or wrong, and that would be at my own discernment to be like, nah, or yeah, actually that's some BS. You understand what I'm saying? So things I'm confused about that might happen to me, and you're like, I can't tell you how to feel. Maybe I need you to tell me how to feel at certain moments. You know what I'm saying? I might need that advice.
I get that. And if I was to say anything, or if I was to tell you how to feel, I would always tell you to choose not to be offended. And it's the regardless of what anybody is saying, because you can always choose, like being offended is a choice. You know what I mean? And somebody might have full intentions on messing up your day and offending you, but that's why I always say choose not to be offended, because regardless of what they're doing and what they're saying, it's always up to you to react the way you need to react to stay in your square. So that's why I would tell you, don't even worry. But yeah, they meant it to be, they was being a little shifty. They meant it to be offensive, but don't take offense to it. You know what I mean? Keep your square and move on with it.
I don't want to go down the rabbit hole too far, but just to throw this out, yeah. if a girl who don't know no better is being pimped, and she don't know no better, that's all she knows. Is there a reason to save that girl if she don't know?
Does she
she's
want to be
being
saved?
abused. It's like she's being abused, like flat out.
Does she want to be? Does she want to be saved?
She don't know. She don't even know if it's right or wrong, or if there's other options outside of that. So I mean, so just think about people that we grew up with. That's like, man, ain't no way out the hood until you show them there's another side. Like, oh, I don't have to be XYZ. I don't have to be like this. There's a whole nother side of the world I can get to. I thought I didn't have that opportunity, that ability, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of transitions to that. And that's, if you never tell that person or show that person, hey, you don't have to act like that. You can do this, or you could feel like this. You know what I'm saying? Then I don't know.
That's not saving
though.
That's giving information. That's giving information. That's planting a seed. Like, you can always plant the seed, but it's not your job to try to pull them onto the other side. You know what I mean? And that's where I think the issue might come into hand, when you try to yoke somebody in who's not really ready for that movement. You can pin on the seed, tell them, look, man, you see what I'm doing, you see the movement I'm doing. I came from the same place you came from. Look at this. You know what I mean? You can always come over here. You know what I mean? When you're ready to move, give me a call. You know, but when you try to start, forcing that movement, I think that's where you start getting that negative reaction, and people start, lashing back out at you because they're not really ready for it. You know what I mean? It's too much information. It's information overload at the time. So that's
Smooth. What you got?
What was that initial question, man?
What kind of relationship should you have with somebody that's a forever teen?
You can have any type of relationship you want. Me, I choose not to have no type of relationship with them. I mean, it's just gonna be a waste of time, man. And me right now, at the point of my life, man, I don't believe in like wasting time or just putting forth no effort for no reason.
No, that's legit. And I wanted somebody to say that. I needed you to say that. You know what I'm saying? Just to get that out there. Like, you don't have to have a relationship with these people, or you could decide to like pull them out, help them, or whatever. But I guess it depends on who and what they mean to you. What you got, Mo?
That was exactly what I was going to say. It depends who they are and what they mean to me. Because, everybody, I guess, is worth saving, but everybody's not worth saving to me. So with that being said, that level of effort and that level of sacrifice in order to save that person, I have to determine if it's worth it for me. For the most part, as long as I don't have to, extend myself too much, I'm always going to provide, I guess, like I said before, diversity of thought or exposure. But who am I to say that my way's better? All I can do is I can expose you to another way of thinking, and then you have the opportunity to make a decision for yourself. But, I don't always call it the ignorant American when I travel. Like, it's not my job to go and spread democracy to the Eastern world. Like, who am I to say that my way's better? Like, all I can say is, hey, this is what I do. Like, I remember when I was in South Africa one time, like, it was almost like going back in time. And I remember I was telling the concierge at the hotel, I was like, hey, being that you're dealing with this at all times when it comes to like doing reservations and stuff like that, I was like, back home, there's actually an app called Open Table where all you need to do is you can actually reach out to all these restaurants before time and get the prime time reservations, and you can sell them to the people that you're coming in contact with every day through your job. And I was like, it's probably $1 billion app and it's not here yet. So you can leverage it. It's almost like you met an alien from the future that's bringing you this idea, and you can become rich and you can own this hotel one day. And he was like, so do you want the reservation or not? And I was like, I do. And I just left it alone. Like, who am I to make, like, maybe he don't want to be rich. Like, you know what I mean? Who am I to force him to believe what I believe? Maybe being rich isn't his end goal. And I caught it. I caught myself. I was like, you know what? You're right. Yes, I would like that reservation. Have the car ready for me at 8:30, please. And I moved on. So you always have to kind of have that cost risk analysis to make sure, you know, the cost benefit analysis of what it's going to cost me and the energy it's going to cost for who it is to save them. And, you know, you have to make that determination for yourself. But trying to save everybody, you know, you know, you're going to hurt yourself, and you're going to go to sleep very unfulfilled trying to save everybody.
I think that you're able to, the reason why you're able to say that you're right is your results, right? So if you have done something well and it has produced for you, then that is what it is that you can tell somebody. I mean, the example that you gave, Mo, was something that you were not necessarily attached to be able to explain to him how valuable it would be, because he could look at it as, then why aren't you doing it? Right? As opposed to if you had done something exceptional and you were at the forefront of it and you're explaining to him what you did with the app and how you made the money, then there's probably a different listening ear, right? Because you went through it. This is what's a challenge for me, because I'm cool with awkwardness, and I'm cool with having dysfunctional conversations, or if some people may say challenging conversation or toxic conversation, whatever it is. And I feel like the way that I believe is right, you know, because of the results that I've seen. If we talk about it from a perspective of marriage, or if we talk about it from perspective of being a teacher, a manager, I've been great at some of these things. What I'm working on is how to be a better dad to my 10-year-old, because like he's a problem. You know what I'm saying? And I can't give up on him because he's my responsibility, right? But if it was another kid, because I done a lot, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think somebody already said, it's like, what is the relationship that you have, and what relationship are you willing to have, and what type of energy are you willing to divest into? And sometimes, well, I would say a lot of times, if you're a believer, it got to be what the Holy Spirit say. Because my dude Jonah didn't want to go. You know what I'm saying? Jonah didn't want to go. Moses didn't want to go. You know what I'm saying? All of these people didn't want to go, but it wasn't up to them. If it was up to them, it wouldn't have happened, right? So I do my best to try to channel it through what relationship do I have with the person, and how much information am I willing to, or time am I willing to spend with this person? Because it did backfire me on one time where it's gonna be bad, but I'll share it anyway. I was in a class, and I was watching this class for this teacher that had just stepped out. She was late. And so she said, can you watch my class? That's always a bad thing, but I did. And so the class was disruptive, and I'm trying to get them in order. And this one kid, he started doing some crazy sounds, right? I went over to him and I was like, do you need me to get you a short bus? That's what I said, right? I did. That was wrong of me, right? And he said, I'll beat your ass. That's what he said to me. I said, oh man, that's not what I was looking for. Right. And I was like, why would you say that? Bruh, you over here. And I had to realize that I had entered his space and I did not have any rapport built with him to even engage with him in that manner. Right. And so I felt bad when I left the room. And the Holy Spirit told me, like, you're gonna have to apologize. I talked to my wife and she's like, you're gonna have to apologize, right? I said, I know. And so I went and found the kid. He was like a junior, probably, something like that. And I went up to him and I was like, man, I'm really sorry. That wasn't right for me to do. I understand why you said what you said. So that, once again, my story is, it all depends on the relationship and what type of time you're willing to put in and invest into the person, and what does the Holy Spirit say to you.
No,
So
that's
now I'm
dope.
invested in the story. What was his response to your apology?
He was like, okay, that's cool. He's a teenager. You know how teenagers are. Teenagers don't want you to see any type of emotion on them, right? So he accepted it. I didn't see the kid again, really. You know what I'm saying? So,
Okay.
and but at the same time, I know that he appreciated that, because the teacher had asked him, um, and she told me that he was cool with it and everything was good. So I've never done that before, and I'm sorry that I did it, but I understand the lesson that was learned in that situation. So
That's a dope story. I literally just did that and almost fought one of my T-ball parents. Like literally,
it's crazy, right?
literally. What you got, Jamie?
Well, I mean, since my profession is like life coaching, I have been the person that attempted to save everybody, and like literally almost lost my mind. And so to Humble Dad gave part of my answer, which is now, like, I do like listen to the Holy Spirit when it comes to certain things, and He'll tell you like, hey, that person's not ideal. You know what I'm saying? Or you can talk to them today, but you probably can't talk to them tomorrow. This is not an everyday thing. And I hear it's crazy. Like, I don't know, this is for a female. I limit my talk time. Like, I don't talk to people every day. I don't spend long amount of hours, ingesting people's stuff like that. Because I think it's just too much. Sometimes you got to create where you're able to listen to yourself sometimes, rather than always trying to fill your space with people's thoughts and feelings and problems and emotions. And that's just for me, because it's part of what I do. But I would say, if you don't have the Holy Spirit, then just use discernment. Something inside you goes, hey, this conversation ain't for me, right? Or something says, I shouldn't pick up the phone today. You see the phone call coming in, right? Your heart start beating a little bit faster and you're like, I don't really want to talk to that person. Don't pick it up. Unless it's like an emergency or a family member or something like that. So you know something in you knows, but we still do it because we don't want people to we be people pleasing, whether we realize it or not. And I think men do it a lot more than most, because y'all don't want to hear nobody's mouth. And so that's my advice to y'all. You can't be everything to everybody.
That's exhausting. To transition though, I like that everybody kind of brought in how to have this relationship, but here's the real ticket, right? Um, what kind of issues do we see out here in the dating market, and would you want your children to go through them? What you got, Lee?
I don't know. I ain't been in the dating market in a long time, man. From what I see though, it's rough out here, man. There's a lot of unrealistic expectations that both sides have, with the unwillingness to really improve on themselves. They want things from others that they don't really like. You know what I mean? Like, they don't really exhibit in themselves, and then they're not even really able or willing to offer, anything remotely worth being given those things. So it's a rough scenario, when I think about it, because I just think of most of my friends are married or been in long-term relationships. So I don't necessarily see the whole dating pool like that. But as I look at the youth, and I see, how things are with some of my nephews and and nieces and things like that, man, there are a lot of there's a definitely a lack of emotional intelligence from a lot of these individuals. And there is a, and they look and they say things a lot differently than we do. So sometimes I don't necessarily know what the heck they're talking about. There's this whole sassy thing, and then there's these the rizzing, and I don't really know what the heck half of this stuff means, but you know what I mean. I'm listening to them, and I'm looking at how they're talking about the opposite sex, or how they're talking about dating, or how they're talking about just life in general, about how they want to grow, who they want to be, if they want marriage, if they want kids, if they're cool with a baby mama, if she's cool with a baby daddy, or things of that nature. And a lot of it is sad, and I often wonder, like, who raised these kids? And then I look around and I'm like, oh, we did. You know what I mean? And I think that's part of the issue. But I think we often talk all the time about raising our kids to be I know Reese does anyway, about being toothless tigers. You know what I mean? We give them so much of this world that we didn't have access to when we were kids, and now they see things through a lens that really is not realistic, and it's kind of puffed up because it makes it seem like everything in our household is the rest of the world, and it's not reality. Like, no, outside of this house, 99.9999% of the people don't care about you. So you know what I mean? They're just doing stuff to get something from you. So I think just looking through that lens, man, what I would say is, like, man, you just have to be careful, and you have to make sure you know what you want. Make sure, first of all, make sure you know who you are. Make sure you know who you are. Make sure you know what you want and what your expectations are, and be able to communicate that. You know what I mean? From the beginning. And that's not saying that people don't change and won't change throughout the years, but at least you have a foundation to grow on. You say, hey, look, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. And if you're not able to meet those things, then, we're better off just being friends, or we're better off not doing this. And you may get together and think that you can make it happen, but at least down the line, you at least know that you made those things known from the get-go, and then you can make sound decisions moving forward.
So you would or you would not want them to date in this environment?
I wouldn't want them to date in this environment. However, I would want them, if they knew who they were, and they really got a real good understanding of what they wanted, I would want them to be able to communicate that. Now, whether they end up dating or not, that's neither here nor there. But actually knowing who you are, being able to communicate your needs and your wants, I think is first and foremost to all of that.
You're on mute.
Smooth, what you got?
Nothing at all, man. I don't know. I can't answer that question, man. Like, yeah, I know issues that they have. Like my daughter's 17. I asked her if she want to have kids. She's like, yeah, when I got out of college. But she's like, Dad, who am I having kids with? These dudes don't even like girls. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's the question. I mean, right now, like, I'm trying to be a father and not be too hard on her, and allow her to grow. Well, she got questions like that, like why don't they like girls? You know what I'm saying? They always want to hang with each other, this and the third, and play video games. I can't answer that question, man, because that ain't what we did growing up. You know what I mean?
So, which do you don't want her dating, or do you?
Now, I want her to date, but let her tell her she ain't got nobody to date. I mean, which is cool now. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got to worry about no teenage pregnancy or trying to, come home and catch somebody in my house. You know what I'm saying? But
So how's she gonna learn though?
learn what?
Like, how's she gonna learn what dating looks like and should be?
Oh no,
If
me
she
and
go-
her, we do daddy daughter dates all the time. It's not as to the point where, you know, as the guy was trying to court her. You know what I mean? We don't dress up and stuff like that. But we just go out and spend time together and just have conversation and stuff. But you know, I know a teenage boy would give her a way different conversation than I would give her.
Facts. So what I'm saying is, how are you preparing her? Like, for example, is she going to go to college?
Yes.
How long does she have until she goes?
She's going into her senior year of high school now.
Okay. So if she doesn't date in your sphere, she's going to have to date outside of your sphere, meaning that you're not going to be available on a day-to-day basis to see how she operates with a guy.
Right. I mean, and I thought about that, and that's a scary part to me. But HD, how can I mean, I can't force her to go talk to a guy or force a guy to talk to her. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not saying necessarily force her. You can put her in scenarios as it relates to when y'all go places. How does she communicate with guys?
Well, I mean, around me, she won't really do that as much. She'll see somebody from school and speak, but you know, just walking up and talking to a guy or something like that, nah. So she had a little dude that liked her, but he came to my house and he was real. I ain't gonna say he was disrespectful. I can tell it wasn't no father in his house, the way he came to my door, the way he was talking to me. So when I checked him, he really thought me and him finna go back and forth with a dialogue. I'm an adult. You a high schooler. We ain't finna do this. So I just told him, hey man, don't come to my house no more. Told her don't talk to him no more.
And she said okay.
She said okay.
So I would just say, because I know I'm gonna have to deal with it as well. I have she's about to be 15, and what I have been kind of researching is when will be an optimal time to have an opportunity for her to see her in that setting. I know he was disrespectful. That's what you're saying. But I don't know how you responded to him either, so that you could have seen the dynamics between her and him.
Mm.
Right? So maybe next time, see what she would do in a given scenario. Because now what I'm thinking, Jamie can help me. She's like, why would I bring any dude over here? Because this is what dad gonna do.
No, but me and her talked about that. I told her it's the way that he came. First of all, he came to my house at 9:30 at night. We're not doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Who invited him?
No, he came by himself. He said he's about to leave and go to his dad's house for spring break or something, and he just wanted to see her before he left.
Did she know he was coming?
No. And I asked him, I said, did she take him over here? And he said, no. I'm surprising her.
And they had been talking for a moment?
Well, I mean, they knew they talked on the phone.
That was the first time you had met him?
First time I met him, I've seen him before. I spoke to him, but that was the first real conversation we had.
Yeah. So she it sounds like, how long was it? Because it sounds like she didn't really want you to know much about him.
She didn't.
And did you ask her why?
She said, because them guys scared of me.
Why?
Because they said I don't speak. But I'll say they kids. I mean.
And so that's what I'm saying. If you would have allowed yourself to be a person that was, you got to almost be an investigator. You're going to have to be like a spy to some degree, because you want to be able to know how your daughter would interact with a dude, whether he's a goon or not, or a good dude. Like, you want to be able to have that experience. And it's very possible that you lost out on that one, right? Because she is telling you that they don't like girls, but however, she had a dude come to her house.
Mm.
So it can't be, she not being totally honest with you. She's just trying to get your scent off. That's what I'm saying. So try to figure out a way where you can see her in that setting. Like with me and my daughter, she's about to be 15. she talks to me and my wife about what goes on in her day, and we recognize when she's talking about a particular boy, but she says she don't like him, and she even introduced us to him, and I got to see how he moved because I've been in places where he has been, and then I also got to see how she interacts with him and other boys, and so she really not on that type of time, but she do like boys,
Mm.
right? And I know that, and so, but she also is free to come in and dialogue with me about a boy, right? So I don't and I would say I do come across as approachable, but also as a dad that is protecting his daughter, not a dad that's that's trying to box a kid. You know what I'm saying? And that's hard to do. I'm just giving some things that I'm going through right now. Go ahead.
No, I'm just listening.
What you got, Mo?
So I guess let me kind of corral this. So because I actually had to kind of write the question down. So kind of what goes on in the market. I mean, I just think holistically, and I'm not even speaking from a teenager standpoint. I just think that there's a lot of broken people out here looking to be fixed. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And I think a lot of times, like, and I guess I'll kind of pivot it back to kind of the fatherhood thing because I have a daughter that's about to be 16. One of the things that I was very adamant about was she was not allowed to date until she was 16. Whether that means that she was, going to sneak or whatever, but it wasn't going to be condoned. And obviously I was going to redirect it at any cent that it came across my path. But with that being said, and I think HD's 100% correct, and that's kind of what I planned on doing was this gives me a good 2 years. One, I'm hoping that she's going to be emotionally mature enough to handle this type of stuff. So that's one. And then this also gives me 2 years to help redirect, and then also to be able to help vet and put her in proximity of people that I believe are the right type of characters that she should be around and entertaining. Right. So, and I totally understand it. There's going to be a lot of times to where, for whatever reason in our culture, in our communities, being, the guy that I would have picked for is probably not going to be her choice. But I'm like, listen, here's what comes with potentially choosing outside of the stuff that I have and laying out as character, being transparent, saying the quiet part out loud, because a lot of times, I mean, we've all been young boys. I mean, it's about being transactional, really. So you're going to say whatever you think is what they want to hear so you can get what you want. And I'm trying to impart that into her without making her so jaded to where, like, well, I'm just not going to date. I'm like, so no, it's not that. It's just that you need to be, one, intentional about what you're looking for, two, be transparent about it, and three, you need to be able to allow that person to be visible in all parts of your life. Like, so you shouldn't be dating a guy that I wouldn't approve of and then acting like you're goody two shoes when you're at the house. Like, if you have to make an excuse for that person, that's probably not the person for you. So this is definitely newly charted territory for me. But with that being said, I'm looking forward to it because I put a lot of work, I put a lot of investment into my daughter, and this is just the evolution of this growth. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm up for the challenge to be, I don't want to say an integral part, but I'm going to be. And I know it's probably more than she would like, but I'm okay with it. And I'm probably one of the reasons why this topic came up with the whole arranged marriages or whatever, because I had already kind of came in proximity, and I was at an event and I actually did something similar to that. And I was kind of like redirecting the room to who I thought were good candidates versus who wasn't. So we'll see. To be continued.
That's good. We've had this conversation ever since she was a little girl with her mother, who passed a few, like 3 years ago, we would have this conversation. She's about to be 15 now. We was having this conversation like when she was 10 about you know, guys and things of that nature, and we was talking about arranged marriages because of what we saw coming, right? And I think it was maybe in 11, 12. She was like, I would much rather that, My daughter's an introvert, you know. Listen, I'm gonna put it to you like this. I said we're not gonna be dating no bums. Okay. And not dating no bums. And I try to make sure that I give her a very good example, of being a dad to her, but also being a husband to my wife. And even when I was married to her mother, making sure that she's seen what a man's supposed to do for his wife. And I remember asking her a question. I had let her, matter of fact, I had let her watch some of Kevin Samuel's stuff, right? Because she's a very highly intellectual young lady. And I said, what do you think about what we just said? And she was just like, I don't understand why women think like that. Even to this day, she communicates from the perspective of, she talks about the F word, right? Feminism. And she understands that that's not what she wants to be or do. So do I want her dating in this space? I don't want her dating at all. I want her to be courted with the mindset of marriage, because I believe that that's going to be her best viable option. I talk to her about her purity. I talk to her about that. Her virginity is her greatest leverage, her greatest asset, outside of and alongside of her faith in God, her intellect, her compassion, her being able to have emotional intelligence, being able to, when she feels herself being emotional, understanding how to receive the logic, right? These are the things that we have been imparting in her. So it's going to be like the dude that, let me finish that thought. So it's going to be, I think, challenging for uh, immature dude to approach her. But I'm not saying that it can't happen, right? I'm not naive to that premise. But the guy that she said is just her friend, he would be a really good choice, right? And me and Kendra know that. And so we always mess with her like, you like him, don't you? And she gets upset when we say that she does. And she's like, no, not at all. But she talks about him a lot. And so, but nevertheless, I even told her, I said, he's a good dude. He's a good dude. But I do want you to know that good dudes be trying to get at you too. I let her know that as well. So because I'm telling her, explaining to her the game, as well as her seeing, she got this. I don't think most kids get to see this, but she got to see me court my current wife. You know what I'm saying? So she got to see how my mind functions when I'm dealing with women, right? So I think that's the part where more men need to do, even if you're not with the mother of your kid, that you show your child how to respect their mother and what it looks like for how a man should respect you. I think that's they learn through the example that you give. I ask my kids, do they still, knowing that you could lose somebody? I told them from this perspective, knowing that you could lose a spouse, would you still want to get married? Knowing the challenges and the difficulties that you've seen, as well as the good things that you've seen, what's your outlook on marriage? And all of them said that they would want to be married because of what it is that they see. So this is a really good conversation, because I have the conversation. I don't think that most parents do. That's just my thought. On you, Jamie.
So when we were on your podcast, Humble Dad, remember Prototype had said something about white people having better marriages or like more successful marriages. So
Yeah.
I want to tell you why I did this. So after that, you know, I was in the vicinity of different locations a couple of times, and I ran into some parents, and I was like, "You got a teenager?" And they were like, "Yeah." I was like, "Girl, you know," and they were like, one lady was like, "I got a boy," and I said, "Okay, so how do you deal with him dating?" And she said, "Well, this is how I was taught. This is what my mom did." And because I was trying to figure out why their stuff was successful. Okay. And so across the board, they said that they allow the person to come in for them to get to know the child that their child is interested in. Okay. And so for this parent, she said that she saw that this was going to be a long-term relationship. Her son really wants this girl outside of being finished with school. So now the young lady comes over and she is actually training her on how to like love her son, like the favorite meals or what his quirks are, or like it's very interesting to see how differently, you know, Caucasians do with their children versus what we do, right? And so I several of them, but I also remembered working with some, and they did the same thing. Like they all did the same. I was like, you let the girlfriend come over, or you let, you know, the boyfriend come over. Well, yeah, we need to see how they act. Like, what is this looking like? So, Humble Dad, yeah, you're right. Like that is the way that these other races do it, which is kind of in a way a form of arranged marriage, because the child can also see that this might be not going to be a good fit for me either. For instance, my son's friend had a girlfriend, and the mom allowed her to come over, and after a while, you know, they could tell she got a little depression issues. Okay. And she's very clingy. Okay. So they would let her come over, and then she would leave and want to be on the phone all the time. And so he decided after watching that, he's like, well, my mom doesn't act like that, you know, in her relationship. Why would this be my norm? You know? And so he ended up breaking up with her, which I thought was fantastic that she allowed him to make that assessment for himself. So I had a dad that would scare everybody off. And so I still snuck and did things behind my dad's back. And I'm saying that because I know there's a lot of dads on here with daughters. And so doing that is probably not ideal, because we will lie to you in your face, and we will act like your sweet little angel. And we are not being that outside of that. And I don't want to make anybody suspicious, but if my dad would have been like, hey, does that boy like you? Let me meet him, instead of saying I'm going to shoot him, it probably would have been different. You know what I'm saying? Just saying, like, that's just my only advice. But do I want my kid in this dating pool? No, I don't. But women be the first people asking for the truth. For real. You but I'm just telling you, I gave you the truth. Right? Do I want him in this dating pool? No, not for my son. I think it's even a lot more different for for having a boy, because like I have to tell him, you know, you need to be careful. Because kids are changing their gender at an early age, right? So I have those things that kind of pop in my head too, where I'm like, hey, we need birth certificates. We need what for real.
No,
and I'm trying to tell him that.
Me and Mo Better had the same reaction, but then I looked over. He got the same exact reaction. But go ahead. No, you good.
Right. So like I'm just, no, I don't. But I do see like there's hope that there's other people that have young women, or that they're raising young women that are trying to be intentional with how they raise them. So my son has hope. You know what I'm saying? Like it somewhere in there, we're all trying to make sure that there's a new standard amongst us. So that's my answer.
Leafer, you smiling? You want to say something? So I'm gonna just throw out the last question, right? So the last question is what's the best way to arrange a marriage? Now that Mo already kind of went over it, Jamie, you kind of even said it, right? But 2024, because I posted this question on Facebook, and we got so much like kickback about no, because people this and people do that, and you end up being with somebody you hate. Look, arranged marriages have a 4% divorce rate in America. This ain't
Right.
just like
And doing it your way is what, a 55% divorce rate.
50%. You got 50% people doing it for love.
It's like 37, right? To be honest.
No, it's 50.
No, it's 37. I went to go research it myself because I was like, this is crazy.
I got another source that just said 50, but whatever. But arranged marriages at 4%. Like, come on, you can't beat those numbers. Even if we did it in some type of shape, form, fashion, that we could just bring the number down, is better than what we have going on at the current moment. So, I guess we could just kind of two-part the final question, right? What's more important, love or values, or and what would be the best way to arrange a marriage in 2024 for a culture that's never done it, right? Because we're not in that culture to be like, oh, this is what you should do, and you know what I mean. Like, we're not in an Indian culture, or you know what I'm saying, because that's who's known for doing stuff like that. We're not in that culture. So for people who like never been in the culture or whatever, what do y'all think would be our blueprint as African Americans or whatever to start arranging marriages and get the divorce rate down amongst our culture? What you got, Lee?
Yeah, I mean, as far as love or values go, man, I think it has to be a bit of both. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily know that you have to be in love with somebody, in the arranged marriage. I think, that part can grow, but there has to be an alignment of values at the very least. And as far as an arranged marriage, man, and I've been thinking about it since we initially started having the conversation, and it has worked a lot. You know what I mean? It has worked a lot, and people have grown to love each other, appreciate each other, value each other. I don't know that I don't know that, even though I've said it a few times, I don't know that I would go as far as arranging a marriage. What I would hope for is, for me personally, is that, my kids would value me enough to invite me in on the vetting process. So everybody they date, everybody that is up in question, everybody that is sniffing around their butts, they invite them to me, and I get to get full, ability to talk to them, get to know them, you know what I mean, and get to see them, interact with you. Get to see them, if he's a guy, get to see him interact with with other men in our group. Well, my son, if it's a woman, you know what I mean, I shift her over to the women in my family and let her spend the day with the women in my family and let them vet her. But I think as long as we are a part of that vetting process and we're able to sift through the bull crap and see who's who, I think that's a good alternative to the arranged marriage. You know what I mean? To just be able to be a part of that process, be able to say, look, this dude or this woman, they ain't worth a crap. And, well, we used to say Chinese money. I don't know if you can say that anymore, but I just said it. So it is what it is.
Would you really think it's safe if your family's toxic? Is it safe to release that person into your family?
I mean, if your family's toxic, your family's the problem already. So I don't know if that's the biggest thing. I mean, I know there's certain people I know, maybe not your whole family, but if there's a certain sect of your family that you trust, that you know what I mean, you value their opinion, then you know what I mean, those would be the ones that I would say that you let them, take them over there. Hey, you know what I mean? Hey, I'm finna go over here. I'm gonna go shopping. I'm gonna buy you some stuff. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna get you a gift. And but hey, I need you to stay here with Graham, or I need you to stay here with Auntie, whoever it is that you trust, you know what I mean, to give an honest assessment and to be, you know what I mean, to be down to earth and cool. I would be willing to leave those, but I mean, I'll leave it there because I don't want to incriminate myself.
What you got, Smooth? Is it is lover is what's more important, love or values? And how would you arrange marriage your children?
I'll take values over love any day. So I feel like somebody showing you values, and I think love will come out of that. And as far as like arranged marriages and change the community, I think we have to do it by resources, man. Like if this family has abundance in this resources and this one has a lack of in this resources, but the abundance they have is the lack that this family has, come together and now, you know what I'm saying, it's strong on both ends. I mean, we shouldn't be like arranging marriages just because this person light skinned, this one got green eyes. We out here just making pretty babies, you know what I'm saying? But they ain't adding nothing to the community, you know what I mean?
I've seen that backfire on people too. You try to get somebody with pretty eyes, and they don't got none of the kids got pretty eyes. It can backfire.
Right.
What you got, Mo?
Man, it's a funny night, like not funny, haha, more funny, ironic conversation. But the notes that I put down, and because it says between love or values, and as soon as you said the question, the first thing I put is my expectation and my hope is that she falls in love with their values and their character. That was the first thing that came to my mind. And when it comes to this this particular conversation, I always go back to something that I heard from Farrakhan. And can you hear me?
No, I had to one of those for that.
Oh, okay. And what I always go back to is something that I heard from Farrakhan years ago. And he said, and I'll just give the quote and then there'll be context, I guess, after it. And the first thing he said was, he said, the problem with us, he said, we mate from the navel up. I mean, from the navel down, and other folks are mating from the neck up. And that always struck a chord with me. Like, we're going off of attractability and that's, that whatever that nature it is that we're attracted to. That's fine and well. But what else you got? So with that being said, I want her to fall in love with the character and the values of that person. Now, as far as how to arrange a marriage, I get it. Like I said, I've been very intentional with my conversations with my daughter recently. She doesn't love the idea of having an arranged marriage. Like I remember we even watched a show. It was called, I want to say it was called like Arranged Indian Marriages or something like that on Netflix. But truly, really all I'm asking for is input and the first right of refusal to help her vet. I'm not trying to marry her off to somebody she's never seen, never met, because they have money or something like that. That's I know that's the connotation that comes with an arranged marriage, but that's not my intent. I just want to be able to help her vet and to properly assess that person without the attraction, because when you're in love and you're in lust or whatever, sometimes you miss stuff. Whereas the people that are outside looking in, you can say that he ain't that cute to me, so I see that flaw. Like he doesn't really care for you or whatever, and vice versa. And it kind of goes back to one of the things that HD and Jamie said when they were kind of talking about kind of with the mates and vetting or whatever. And one of the things that I always ask my daughter is, what just your value is more than just you being pretty and what's between your legs. Like, what do you bring to that person? Because a lot of times in our community, it's the power of that. So it's just this Russian roulette of you're just holding it until you can get what you can get. Oh, if I get the ring, then he'll get it. Like it has to be more than that. Like I want that person to gain value because you're in their life. And I always ask her that, and that's something that I think she thinks about. Because I know we were talking about kind of the F word, and I got one of those on my hand a little bit. But with that being said, I'm like, how like it doesn't really line up with who you are, because you say you want to be married, you say you want to have a family. I get it. You say you want to be a Supreme Court justice, but do you want to be a single Supreme Court justice and you want to just focus on the work part of it and your career, and the other stuff, the social part and the companion part is not important to you? And she says no. So I'm like, well, you have to kind of juxtapose that in your mind to kind of figure out how you're going to create that level of balance to be able to have a certain level of both that you're able to live with.
No, that's solid, man. You got some good ones for today, man. What you got, HD?
Yeah, I think it would be good for you to maybe have her look up individuals, because for her to just go figure it out, that's going to be kind of problematic, right? As far as if she want to be a Supreme Court justice, maybe find somebody that for her that has done that, and maybe she can research some of them people and maybe reach out to them to see how they do it, because we want to do a good job of storing our kids in whatever development they want to do, right? You don't have to do that. Just me giving a thought to what you said. The For me, I would say building relationships with other people would help us navigate the opportunity to arrange marriages. So for example, I have my best friend. He has y'all know Dwayne. You know what I'm saying? Those that watch the show know Dwayne, one of my best friends, aka accountability partner. He has 2 young sons. He also has a young daughter. And if it ever came to a point where we were still locked in, I know how he's raised his sons and his daughter. You know what I'm saying? So uh, if I'm able to align myself, not necessarily best friends, but if I'm able to, link arms with, people like you all that are in the mindset of we gotta build this community through marriage, and if there's the values, which I would definitely think that all my kids would probably lean towards, and those values would create the opportunity for them to love that person, if that makes sense. And so that's the way that I think it could be built, you know, breaking bread with individuals of like minds. And if they have kids, then their kids are around your kids. And then they could begin to see how, and as well as you could be able to see how they interact with them. Um, and they may even find themselves um, falling in love or liking each other or wanting to spend that type of time because they've found a friendship one, and then they for the most part know their values. To another point, I think there's a lady. What's her name? I can't think of her name. There's a lady that I did a Bible study with for like 2 years. Can't think of her name right now, but she had a best friend. Well, their kids are currently married. They were best friends, I don't know, probably about 30 years. What's up? Yeah, that's what's up, Proto. They were friends about 30 years, and now they're married and they have kids and they're doing well together, and as y'all said, us trying to figure it out by ourselves, everybody's not good as me at doing it. You know what I'm saying? I think I've done a really good job at picking wives, if you will. But I also come at it from a different angle than I think most people. Most people, as y'all said, they look at it as, okay, was the sex good? Did she cook well? All of these things that don't really necessarily matter. Most people don't have values to be able to to say these are the values that I want in another person. Right. And so that is why it's a challenge for people to date right now, in my estimation, is because their value system is centered around, if to be honest, is sex. That's where their value system is. And so if they could get out of that particular mindset, then they'll be able to connect, and they'll be able to say, okay, you know what? I like that you are established from a biblical standpoint. I like that even if you're not into the Bible, maybe you're in a different faith or religion. I see that you're aligned with somebody that you believe that's higher than you are, and you are this is the word, that you're submissive to somebody. So I know that you don't just try to answer to yourself, but you're answering to somebody. For me, it's God and Christ, right? And so for me, when either one, like Jen and Kendra, knew from the jump, you know what I mean, that for me, my value system was from the Bible. Like they knew that. And then they got to see what that looks like up close in person once they came into my space. And then as it reaches out, my kids are able to see that. And if I'm connected with people like Dwayne, then my kids will get to see that his kids are in line as well. So I think that would be a really good place to network or build our own dating pool, if you will, by breaking bread with people that are like-minded. That's my thoughts.
I'm just gonna answer like whether I would pick for my son like love or values, and it would definitely be values. I'm raising him to know what his goal is for life, and so like what God's will is for his life, and so that he can base the type of woman that he picks based on that goal, because he has a desire for a certain type of marriage already. So he's thinking about what he wants. And I think that's good. I don't know anybody that Asia has put that into thought of like what he's going to do or what he's looking for. But in my area, I was trying to think like, is there any like-minded people around that possibly we could create a community where it would be something like that? And I'm not going to say no, but I'm going to say I don't see that right now. So now you guys have me thinking on how can he date if there is no way to create that type of community. Does that make sense? Like, am I making sense what I'm saying here? Like, how can he apply these things out in this system that we got going on? And I would say he would really have to hold fast to his core values and give it time, as we've discussed, for somebody to truly see who they are by closing their legs and actually courting the individual. So I think it's still date from the waist up rather than the waist down. Who said that? Was that Mo Better? I got you. So that's it. It would be values for sure. I mean, love is fleeting. I mean, sometimes I love myself and sometimes I don't want to deal with myself, right? So like we got to keep it real. Sometimes you like your kids and sometimes you like, dang, like I really created this person. Okay, here we go today. So that's my answer.
So Vic, before you close it out, one thing that I did want to kind of bring up, and I don't know why I continue to have to do this. Like I feel like the Dr. Umar of the show, but like we don't actually have to recreate this. Like we've as a Black community, like we've done this before. Like if you've seen like the cotillions and all that type of stuff, and like that's a big reason why folks were sending their kids to HBCU so they could find spouses of like-minded, socioeconomic, similar families, children together. So like always, like I don't know about everybody else, but like I just need to kind of go back to maybe 2 generations ago. Like the blueprint was there. It was given to me. It's just as life has kind of gone along, I've strayed further and further away from it and kind of been more into what the world was giving me versus what my family had already provided as a blueprint. So if you've actually already had that, like you just need to go back to those core tenets and those core values that were given to you, and you probably just got farther and further away from it. I can't speak for anybody else, but I know for sure that's what I did.
For me, the reason why this topic was such a thing for me is love or values. I would definitely say values, right? Now that that's been like out there, like sheesh. Falling in love with the values is definitely something that I need to probably start molding in them. Another thing is my biggest thing, I don't want to turn my sons into absolute savages just to navigate what's going on in the world. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I think Mo kind of touched on it. Like, yeah, I gotta teach her to do this and do that. And it's like, dang, like you can't even teach her how to be safe and vulnerable with a person in which you should be in a relationship. You have to teach her how to put up a guard first. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't want to teach that. I rather, like, I have sweet sons, so it's like I'd rather have them just, you know, be good, sweet people that they are. Find somebody, you know, in the dating pool that we've created, I guess, right? Because if we could create this community of good families, and you know, all these good families, and like, well, pick one from the good family bunch, right? And that's what I kind of said. That's kind of like, when I think about it, it's kind of what the church was supposed to be about, but it's kind of dropped the ball. It's somebody peed in the church pool, like, you know what I'm saying? So not the regular dating pool, because we're not supposed to be picking from out there anyway. But somehow the church pool got tainted at the same time, and now there's nobody to pick from. You know what I'm saying? So I guess maybe there's a lost cause for me.
Let me fight back on that, because I think I don't want you over here beating up on the church pool, because I think one of the major issues that people have with the quote unquote church is that they put church folk on a pedestal as if they're not regular people. Like, you know, no, the regular people saved by grace, you know, and we're going to go through the same trials and tribulations, the same issues. We're going to make the same mistakes that folk outside the church is going to make. However, we know where our salvation comes from, and we know where to go to. So I don't want you poo-pooing and beating up on the church folk, because, hey, we just people just like everybody else. So, you know what I mean? We're going to make our mistakes, but just, you know what I mean? What you have to do is you have to temper that by looking at it and saying, oh, they're holier than thou. They're better than I am. No, we're not better than you. We just know where our salvation comes
It's
from.
the values, though.
You know what I mean? Well,
values
you can't
of
put
that's
everybody
what
in the
church.
same box. You can't put everybody in the same box. You know what I mean? Based off of your or anybody's individual hurt that they had from somebody in the church, because it's not holistic. It's individual. You know, and everybody got their own battles that they battling for. And if we were only preaching to the choir, we wouldn't be getting nowhere. So the point is to get people into the church. The people outside the church are supposed to come into the church, and not only into the church, but the people in the church are supposed to go outside and be able to preach the gospel and be able to tell people, hey, look, you know, this is what's going on. I'm not perfect. You know, my stuff ain't all together. I'm not all wrapped up, and neither was anybody in the Bible. Everybody that God chose in the Bible to lead any ministry was all messed up. You know what I mean? And he pushed them in a direction that they didn't even want to go in order to further the ministry, to show people that it ain't about coming here. You think about all the Pharisees. All the Pharisees, oh, they're holier than thou, but he didn't go to them. He went to the pimps. He went to the prostitutes. He went to the people on the street. He went to the lame people in order to bring them in to say, look, I'm here for you. I'm not here for the righteous. The meek shall inherit the earth. So that's what I'm saying. When you get to beating up on the church, understand that church folks
with that
are just
said,
regular people.
Well, HD said my value system's from the church. You just discredited his whole value system then, because now he has no value system at that point. If everybody's all messed up, right? So it's the same thing we getting in the world.
The green-eyed demon strikes again. Here we go.
I'm just saying, like he just mentioned. Look, my value system comes from the church. If you understand the church, then you understand where I stand.
I didn't say the church.
The
What you
Bible.
say? The Bible.
The
My
Bible.
my value system comes from the Bible. So if
The
you understand the
Bible.
Bible, then you understand me, right?
But
So
the
if
church ain't the Bible, and people ain't the Bible, and that people are people.
is that how you gonna do that?
You
That's
know?
how you gonna play that?
I mean, that's
Because
just
because the
reality.
church
You
is
know what I
supposed to
mean?
represent
They
the
always
Bible.
try to get me with that love is patient, love is kind, love it. Look, I'm not love. I'm trying to exhibit the characteristics of love, but I ain't love. You know what I mean? I'm just me, and I'm gonna mess up every day. And if you put your faith in me, you're gonna be messed up too. But that's just the reality.
So again, who is
His
there left?
values
Who is
come
there
from the
left today?
Bible, not
Who is
church.
there left today? If everybody's messed up, like I said, you just kind of agreed with me that people peed in the pool.
No, what I'm saying
That's
is
what you that's
that
what you just said. You just confirmed that for me.
what I'm
Like
saying
I
is
said the church is supposed to be
there
that
there is
collection
a
of women
difference.
that we can select
There
from
is a
and men.
difference. There is a
And you
difference
just say
between
you're
those
right. You argue with
outside
me and say,
and
you know what, you're
those
right.
who are saved by grace, who know the Lord, who know their Lord and Savior. There is a difference between those who were wandering, chasing their tails in the wilderness, and those who know where their salvation
Evidently
comes from.
not. If it comes with the same baggage, like you just said.
Oh, man. I mean, characteristics are characteristics, but you know where the North Star is at. You know how to find your way home. You may make a decision that takes you left, but you know how to come back right. If you never knew, what right was, then you don't know where to go. You just lost forever. Go ahead, AC.
No, I see what's going on. I see his challenge in your statement, is what I'm saying. So clearly the Bible says that we are set apart. So there should be a distinct difference between the person that is not saved and the person that is saved. There should be a distinct difference. Do they make the same mistakes? Yes. But what is the heart posture is what Lee is trying to say. He's saying we as the people outside of the church look at the people inside the church as individuals that can do no wrong based on what morality, because the people on the outside of the church don't have a morality. So how is it you're able to tell the people on the inside of the church what morality is? The people on the inside of the church need to be showing who Christ is even after they make a mistake and not glorifying the mistake, which is, I think, what Prototype is trying to communicate. So what is going on, and Jamie can attest to this too, probably, what is going on is that people that are saying they're Christian don't live like it, but they at the church. You feel me?
Yeah, you're right. Because I was gonna tell him maybe just read the book of Titus, and then you'll understand more of where we dropped the ball in the church, because there's specific like guidelines on what we are supposed to do, our bishops are supposed to do, our deacons, our leaders are supposed to do, and we're not doing that, even though we come in. And so like there was a standard even when the apostles were creating the churches. That's why there were so many letters going out like, y'all are doing too much, this is not what I told you to do. And so there is a standard that we are supposed to have, that the church building has dropped the ball. That's why we have, what a first gentleman now, right? We have churches that have first gentlemen. And I'm just thinking how far gone we have gone, rather than because we want to keep on bringing grace in, but grace is for you to get better, not for you to live in sin and then utilize God like that. You get them? Does that make we all on the same page, kind of? Okay.
Amen.
Nah, you love that book of Titus. That was like, Titus? Who reads Titus?
She made you go read
She
it.
made me go read it.
Change your whole life.
Yeah, that's not a book that's I've heard much from, but yeah, Titus. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Yeah, so man, we could wrap it up. Smooth, you've been quiet for a minute. I forgot you here. You all right?
Nah, man, I'm just soaking it in, man.
I really haven't looked at that part of the screen in a while because I was like, hold on, Smooth is over there. So yeah, man. Hey, let's just wrap this up, man. That was a great show, man. That's another prototype, Dad. And we out. Thanks, everybody. Y'all.